Hello everybody, Jake, your resident content cowboy here. Yeehaw! Goodra is coming to Pokemon Unite, and here's everything you need to know before this character makes it into the game. Goodra has the same kind of level progression as Dragonite, so we've got Goomy at level 1, we get Sliggoo at level 5, and finally Goodra at level 8. You also get its second move at level 8, so a move at 5 and then a move at 8. First, Goodra is a defender and it is special attack based, so no, you won't be running weakness policy or anything like that on this Pokemon, but I can assure you there are going to be a lot of interesting builds for this because it is so focused on its basic attacks. We can see it with a Muscle Band, Rapid Fire Scarf, tons of special attack items. It's going to be really interesting. At the start of the game, Goodra is very basic. We can talk about its first two moves, Tackle and Bubble. Tackle is a little bit of a dash attack that you actually have to aim onto an enemy here, so you can't dash at absolutely nothing here, but if an enemy's in your range, you can dash at them. You bump them a bit, and then you also knock yourself back a little bit. You can use that to position yourself in a fight, so when you're attacking an enemy, if you're chasing them, for instance, and you get on the other side of them, you can bash them and then get knocked back in the direction they're going. Just a little bit of positioning play that you can use with Goodra's Tackle. It also does knock the enemy up into the air, so you get that advantage as well. Goodra's next move is Bubble. You give yourself a little bit of a shield, and then after a certain amount of time, that bubble explodes, either by the enemy doing enough damage to it where your shield breaks, or the time expiring, or you just hitting the button again and blowing up the shield on your own. The bubble also decreases enemy move speed when it pops, so you can use that if you're chasing enemies as well. Let's talk about Goodra's basic attacks here. His basic attacks attack at close range, but his boosted can be close range or long range. You actually do more damage at close range. It seems like you have some sort of damage based off enemy max HP. You can tell based off this substitute doll right here, you do a lot of damage at close range, so clearly it scales somewhat off max HP. But again, its boosted does work at long range, and that will apply the slime effect, the gooey slowdown effect to enemies. And a lot of this Pokemon's kit is all based around this effect. So one thing you'll notice here, if your moves are on cooldown and you hit an enemy with any of your basic attacks that already has that slime on them, you will reduce the cooldowns of your move. Goodra gets a crazy cooldown reduction because of this. I mean, look at how fast your moves come back with this Pokemon. You're going to be able to set up some insane combos with this, and I feel like a lot of its builds are based around how quickly its moves can come back. And again, this is a reason things like Muscle Band and Rapid Fire Scarf could be really popular on this Pokemon. Also, its ability is something to notice. It's passive. When you enter tall grass at all, you will heal yourself. I'll show you that in a moment. You also immediately gain a boosted attack inside the tall grass right there. Do you see that? Just by walking into the tall grass with my ability active, I charge up a boosted attack. So let our ability charge back up. You can see its timer at the bottom of the screen there. Charge back up, and our boosted attack is back. So Goodra has that natural ability, and again, it also heals. Let me show you this right now. I'll let this Wartortle beat me up a little bit, and then I hide in this bush. You can see the gauge of my ability churning down right there as I gain health inside that bush. I also get a boosted attack when I come back, and then I can use my moves and continue fighting. Looks like it's probably something pretty good in Path. Also, it just sets up ways for you to get extra health, and this Pokemon is all about recovering its health. You always recover health when you have that up as long as you're in tall grass. I assume it also pairs with Comfey's ability, which is just kind of a fun little combination right there. This Pokemon already will live forever, by the way, and with a Comfey attached, I get ready. All right, let's talk about a couple of its upgraded moves here. Dragon Pulse. Dragon Pulse creates a pulse of damage, like a little beam here, and you can see in the center of this beam where I'm aiming it, that's where it's most powerful, and it's also going to give you the health recovery. And then on the sides, it does do some damage, but it doesn't recover health the same way. So let me show you. This is me hitting it on the sides right here. You do 261 damage. A few times it did 1,000 damage. And then I'll show you hitting it in the middle right here. You do 1,700 damage, and you will also heal when you use this move and you hit an enemy that has the gooey slowing effect applied to them. So it restores HP in the center, and it also restores additional HP when they have that gooey effect applied to them. Let me see if I can set something up here just to show you how this kind of heals. Wartortle, how you doing, buddy? I need your help. Gooey effect. Big damage, and I am able to... Oh, Blastoise Unite move. No, don't hurt me, buddy. Look at all that healing you get out of this move. Man, this Pokemon just heals like crazy right here. It also can secure objectives pretty well with it. We'll talk about Power Whip here in a sec. That's a way to chase them down. But you're able to heal in a big way with this move. It doesn't work the same way on wild Pokemon as it does on enemy Pokemon. Enemy Pokemon is where you get the big healing effect. However, it does heal against wild Pokemon that have the gooey slime effect. It just doesn't heal the multiple ticks that you would like if you are hitting an enemy Pokemon. I believe Substitute Doll lets me show you it. Let me just show you this really quick. Do some damage to me here, buddy. Right in the center there. And you heal for a ton of HP. And then you have its upgrade, Dragon Pulse Plus, which just does increased healing when you hit enemy Pokemon with the gooey slime effect. Let's see if we can do it right here. Oh my gosh, look at that healing. Oh, this is going to be so unbelievably mean. Oh, I can't wait. Now let's talk about its other move here, Power Whip. Power Whip's a pretty basic move. You can see the targeting of it right there. Anything inside that square, slightly outside of it, but that's actually a pretty good indicator. You will pull the enemy close to you here. And it's nice, you pull them and you stun them. So you can take an enemy that's hiding amongst other enemies. You can hit multiple enemies with it at the same time and pull multiple enemies to you. It's a nice stun, it repositions enemies, and most importantly, it sets them up to be hit with Dragon Pulse again. I think that's one of my favorite things about it, is you literally pull them in and boom, immediate Dragon Pulse. The combo honestly it's pretty insane the way it sets up, because Dragon Pulse heals you for so much, and because the upgraded version of Power Whip applies slime. The healing stacking that you're setting up here is really insane. Let me demonstrate. I'm fighting Blastoise. It uses its Unite here. Fighting, fighting, fighting. It's doing damage to me. All the while, what I can do is I can just hit it with Power Whip and then hit it with Dragon Pulse. Power Whip, Dragon Pulse, and then use my basic attacks, bring it back in, Power Whip, Dragon Pulse, and just heal myself for a ton. It's going to be pretty awesome, honestly. It's going to be pretty mean. Sorry, Blastoise. I'm going to chase you down here, buddy. Let's talk about your Unite move right here. Your Unite move activates. It has a great activation. It's very fluid, so you could just use it and continue moving. It's not like you stop for a second. You use it, you continue moving, you recover HP at a rapid rate, and you move at a very fast rate for a little while, and all of your basic attacks become boosted. So, something to notice with this, I'll turn my move cooldowns off just so I can use it again. Again, your boosted attacks are not only melee, but they are also at range. So this, for a moment, also makes you a ranged character in a weird way, especially if you have something like a red buff here. So it's just kind of an interesting setup where if you're fighting and your enemies are trying to get away from you, you're actually still able to chase them down, hit them with this gooey slowing effect, and then you can bring them in for more moves when you are on your Unite move there. It's just kind of a cool thing to notice is you actually essentially become a ranged Pokemon during your Unite move. You can, of course, do damage close to enemies, and you're going to want to be close to them. Goodra spends a lot of time close to enemies, but at the same time, even if they're trying to get away from you, you have now become a ranged character. Thought it might be nice to show the healing of this Unite move. I've got 3,600 health here. I use my Unite. I get a big shield, and I rapidly recover health, and we get up to 9,300 health, and that's without using any of my moves to regenerate HP or anything like that. So, yeah, you get a ton of healing with this Pokemon. Your other two moves are Muddy Water and Acid Spray, and I will show you how they work. Muddy Water is really interesting. Muddy Water is actually probably the most interesting move inside of Goodra's kit. So you do damage to enemies in a close range, a range that's right around you like that. It's not a ton of damage, it's a little bit. And then after you do that damage, you do reduce the amount of damage an enemy is going to do for a little while. So this sets Goodra up to be sort of this frontline harasser Pokemon where you get next to enemies that deal a lot of damage and you actually hinder their ability to do so. I have no idea exactly how much it affects opponents. I'm sure we'll find that after the Pokemon is released, but that is really interesting. This playstyle, it feels like it's very much set up for getting near enemy damage dealers and making sure that they are hindered. Now, it also does something really fascinating. Let's take a look at Goodra's stats right here. We're level 8. We have 303 defense and 261 special defense right here. Muddy Water, when you hit an enemy, gives you a defense and special defense bonus. You can see it jump up there for a second, and it stacks actually up to 4 times here. So at level 8, you can actually briefly have 683 defense and 641 special defense. Just to give a quick idea of how that compares to the rest of the roster right here, a level 15 max level Blastoise has 599 defense and 420 special defense. So just by using Muddy Water here for a brief period of time at level 8, you have higher defensive stats than the highest level defender inside the game. That's going to be wild. Just to show what this does at max level right here, you're actually able to have 1,450 defense and 1,335 special defense. These stats are unbelievable, and this build really does feel like it's set up to just be the kind of Pokemon who stays near an enemy and is so un-KOable, it's insane. Now let's talk about Acid Spray. Acid Spray is essentially, it feels like an upgraded version of Tackle. You throw a glob of acid here, hitting multiple enemies in a little bit of an area, and then you can also dash through them and do a knockup. The original enemy who's hit with the acid glob, you are able to do a knockup on and stun them when you hit them with Acid Spray. This feels like sort of a 1-2 punch of Acid Spray, Muddy Water. However, I'm sure you could use this with Dragon Pulse as well. What you would be able to do is Acid Spray, dash into them, and then Muddy Water, and continue following them with these 2 moves back to back to back. And then as it upgrades, it actually attaches that gooey slowing effect to them. So even with move cooldowns on, let me show you how fast you're able to reset your moves here. So you could use Acid Spray, attack your enemy, dash in here, Muddy Water, they have the goo on them. Every single basic attack I'm hitting with, I can use it again, Acid Spray again, knock them up again, Muddy Water again, etc, 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 just over and over and over again. So you're able to continue knocking your enemy up, and you're able to continue increasing your defenses as you fight. It's just an over and over again combo for all this, and it's pretty wild. Let's take a look at its Unite move again right here. Once again, your Unite move is going to give you boosted attacks on every single move. All of your moves are reset on boosted attacks when you hit an enemy with the goo or the slime attached to them. So you're just constantly going to be resetting all your moves over and over and over again. It just feels like a never-ending cycle of resetting your moves right here. Also, this practice partner is such an annoying jerk, just constantly pushing me around. But Goodra is just this sustain tank. You can't KO this Pokemon. It's set up to live forever. It just has 8 million ways to keep regenerating its health. It's a really cool addition to Unite. Let's talk held items. I think there are going to be a lot of options for this Pokemon, and I do think anything that's based around hitting enemies faster or keeping yourself alive make the most sense. As always, inside of Pokemon Unite, you want to lean into the strengths of your Pokemon more often than you want to shore up their weaknesses. So a focus band I think is an absolute must on this Pokemon. When you're anything that recovers health, you're already putting yourself in a situation, especially with high defenses, by the way, you're just already putting yourself in a situation where you can't be KO'd, and this just helps that even more. Goodra is going to be one of those Pokemon where you think, it's just never going down. We're never KOing this thing. Other items that could be cool, Shell Bell is kind of fun. You are a special attacker. It does help with your move cooldowns, and at the same time, when you hit with moves, you recover more HP. You're constantly recovering HP, so that's pretty fun. Slick Spoon gives you special attack, HP, and it ignores some of opponents' defenses, special defenses, when you're hitting them with your moves. This actually might be an option on this Pokemon because it's so tanky and it gives special attack. It might be a good call for it. As I mentioned before, I think Muscle Band could be very, very good on this. Your basic attacks are happening all the time. Even though you aren't attack based, you're still constantly doing your basics, so you get that extra bit of damage from Muscle Band. It has an increase in attack speed. We'll see if that works out in the breakdown of how attack speed works in the game, but Muscle Band might be a very good call, along with, of course, Rapid Fire Scarf. This Pokemon is attacking all the time. You're up in enemy's face bases all the time. The more you're hitting them with your basics, the faster your moves are coming up. So when this thing, you know, has its internal cooldown kind of popped and you get to hit the opponent a ton of times, you're essentially just resetting all of your moves. You're also very tanky, so I wouldn't be surprised if something like Aeos Cookie or Buddy Barrier would be pretty good on this Pokemon. The idea just behind this is when this Pokemon has even more HP, it's better, and when you use a Buddy Barrier to get an extra shield, which is going to be massive, or you use an Aeos Cookie just to give you an extra bar of health, that's big. When you're a Pokemon that recovers HP, the more HP bar you have, the more often you are going to be in a zone of recovering HP, and the more opportunities you're going to have to fill up that bar, essentially. So I really like Pokemon when they have some sort of HP recovery running an Aeos Cookie. I think it's a really solid option. This is the public test server, so these emblems aren't perfect, but for boost emblems, I'm going to assume you're going to be running something like 6 green, 6 white. You're going to want as much HP as you possibly can for this thing. It's got a crazy HP number. It might be one of the highest HP stats in the game outside of maybe Blissey or something like that. So the more HP you have, the better. And then of course it's special attack based, so giving an extra special attack will be super, super ideal. I hope all this helped. I can't wait for Goodra to come to the game. It's going to be really, really exciting. We need more defenders. It's been a long, long time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I love you very much, and I'll see y'all soon. Goodra.